For thousands of years, Damascus has stood, a city older than Rome, older than Babylon's fall, older than the rise of empires and the birth of nations. Yet the Bible speaks of a day when this ancient jewel of the Middle East will collapse into dust, suddenly and without warning. A prophecy sealed in time, written long before borders existed, long before tanks and missiles filled the skies over Syria. Soft breath pause. In the book of Isaiah, a chilling declaration. Damascus will no longer be a city, but a ruinous heap. Isaiah 17 paraphrased. For generations, people wondered, is this poetic symbolism or a literal event yet to unfold? Today, as the world watches Syria struggle through war, foreign powers, secret alliances, and rising tensions, many believe this prophecy may be moving toward its appointed hour. But what if the world is missing something deeper? A message hidden in plain sight. A warning meant for our generation. To understand prophecy, we must first understand the place it speaks of. Damascus is not just a city. It is history breathing, civilization carved into stone and sand. Long before Rome, before Persia and Babylon rose in power, Damascus was alive, trading, building, praying. Archaeologists call it the world's oldest continuously inhabited city. It has witnessed caravans from ancient Arabia, the footsteps of prophets, the armies of Assyria and Alexander, the birth of Christianity's early chapters, and the rise of Islam. Yet despite wars, sieges, kingdoms, and empires, Damascus always survived, never erased, never fallen completely, until Scripture revealed a mystery. A moment in time when this ancient city would face a fate unlike any in its past. For centuries, the world read Isaiah's words as distant history, a warning to an ancient city in a forgotten age. But prophecy does not sleep. It waits. It rises when the appointed time draws near. In the scroll of Isaiah, a vision was spoken over Damascus, not as a past tale, but a sign for the generations to come. Prophecy paraphrased tone, not quoting directly. A day will come when Damascus will cease to exist as a city. It will become a heap of ruins, abandoned, silent, desolate. Isaiah 17 verses 1 to 2 reference. Not weakened, not conquered temporarily, but gone, an empty shadow where life once flowed. Such devastation has never happened before. Damascus endured empires, revolutions, and wars, yet never vanished. So why does the prophecy speak of total erasure? What force could bring such sudden desolation? A weapon? A plague? A collapse from within? Or a geopolitical spark? A chain reaction in the heart of the Middle East? Suspense pause, soft breath of silence. This prophecy does not only speak to one city. It whispers to nations, to leaders, to watchers of the last days, because the chapter does not end at Damascus. It speaks of surrounding turmoil, of nations trembling, of once mighty powers shrinking, their glory fading like morning mist. Understand prophecy in motion. We must look not only to the past, but to the trembling present. Syria, once the crossroad of empires, now stands in the shadows of conflict, caught between global powers, regional rivalries, religious fault lines, and ancient spiritual history. For more than a decade, war shook its streets and skies, cities scarred, families scattered, a nation struggling to breathe beneath the weight of history and destiny. Yet, Damascus still stands. Damaged, yes. Weakened, yes. Tested by time, always, but never erased. And here lies the mystery of prophecy. A city that should have fallen 100 times still rises with the dawn, as though held by an unseen thread, waiting for a moment written long ago. Syria today is more than headlines. It is a geopolitical chessboard. Superpower interests, military bases, border tensions, alliances shifting like desert sand. Iran, Russia, regional neighbors, international forces watching and moving. Every decision, every strike, every alliance echoes through prophecy watchers' minds. Because prophecy does not only speak of destruction, it speaks of alignment. Moments when nations stand where Scripture foresaw them. When the stage begins to form for events greater than kings and armies. So we ask, is Syria held in place by history or by destiny? Is its survival a coincidence or a countdown? Every prophecy has a spark, a moment where the unseen becomes reality, where history bends towards Scripture. For Damascus, the question remains, what event could bring the ancient city to sudden ruin? Not a slow collapse, not gradual decay, but a moment, sudden, shocking, irreversible. Some point to world-level tensions in the Middle East, to powerful nations maneuvering near Syrian borders, to covert operations, to advanced weaponry never seen in ancient years. Others consider internal shifts, political fractures, economic desperation, pressures rising beneath the surface, like a silent fault line waiting to break. And some see a broader picture, an end-time alignment, where nations move like chess pieces, where alliances strengthen, and enemies gather around strategic lands. Written in Scripture long before modern maps existed. Soft dramatic pause, faint ticking stops. We are not here to claim the day, the method, or the hand behind such a moment. Prophecy is not prediction. It is pattern, warning, and divine timeline. But watchers across the world see something unusual. Warning military buildups, warning intelligence warnings, warning sudden geopolitical shifts, warning rising regional tensions, warning ancient enemies and alliances resurfacing. And as the world watches global flashpoints, Syria sits quietly, not forgotten, but waiting. Could one unexpected strike, one decision made in a sealed room, one spark in the dust of ancient streets, begin the prophecy Isaiah saw? Or will it come from within? A collapse no army fires, but destiny unfolds. Prophecy does not end in destruction. It speaks destruction, only to lead us toward awakening. The vision of Damascus is not a tale of wrath alone. It is a reminder that kingdoms rise and fall, empires roar and fade, and history does not bend to human power, but to divine timeline. When Isaiah saw the fall, he also saw a remnant, a people turning their eyes back to the one who commands history. Because prophecy is not fear. Prophecy is invitation to discern, to prepare, to stand with faith as the world trembles. Syria's story is not finished. Damascus still breathes, its ancient stones still echoing prayers, its streets still kissed by morning light, its people holding hope between struggle and survival. And if the day Isaiah saw approaches, it will not come without purpose, not chaos, but fulfillment, a reminder to nations. That power is temporary, but prophecy is eternal, a call to souls to look beyond headlines and borders, beyond fear and speculation, toward the one who knows the end. From the beginning, in the final chapters of this world, nations will shake, but hearts that trust will stand firm. The Middle East may tremble, but truth does not. History may shift like sand, but prophecy stands like stone. And whatever the future brings, there remains a promise for the faithful, that even in judgment, God preserves hope. Story has always been more than earthly struggle. It is a stage where heaven and hell contend for nations. Fast forward to today. Syria's modern conflicts, foreign interventions, ideological battles, and religious extremism point again to forces beyond human reasoning. The confusion, fear, destruction, and global entanglement resembles spiritual warfare manifesting through political chaos. The same land that once opposed prophets now witnesses the clash between ideologies, superpowers, and spiritual identities. But here lies the mystery. God's plans include redemption beyond opposition. Just as Paul encountered Christ on the Damascus road, transforming from persecutor to preacher, even lands in spiritual conflict can be touched by grace. Syria's ancient role as a battleground between truth and deception may foreshadow a future where light pierces the same soil once clouded by darkness. So we ask, is Syria merely a war-torn nation, or a prophetic battleground where ancient forces still move? Could the turmoil we see be the echo of a cosmic struggle foretold long ago? The story continues, not only on Earth, but in realms unseen. If the battle is spiritual, then the victory will be divine. Before kingdoms clashed, before armies marched, Scripture describes another battlefield. A realm where principalities and powers move nations like pieces on a divine chessboard. Syria's story is not merely political, it is deeply spiritual. From ancient Aram to modern Damascus, conflict often mirrors a war that began long before human history was written. In the Old Testament, Syria repeatedly rises as an adversary to God's covenant people. But behind these conflicts lies an unseen intelligence. Prophets hinted that territorial spirits and ancient powers influence nations. Daniel spoke of the Prince of Persia and the Prince of Greece, hinting that empires had spiritual rulers behind human kings. Could Syria, a land that fought Israel again and again, have been influenced by a similar ancient force? Consider the pattern. Syria supported idol worship, opposed Yahweh's prophets, formed alliances with hostile kingdoms, and waged war on Jerusalem. This wasn't coincidence, it was spiritual resistance. Elijah confronted kings of Syria indirectly while battling Baal, the deity worshipped across this region. The Bible links false gods with demonic influence, meaning Syria's ancient religions were not just cultural traditions, they were spiritual gateways. Yet, there were moments of divine intervention. Elisha blinded the Syrian army not by sword, but by prayer and power from above, showing God's dominion over both physical and invisible realms. Angels surrounded him on the hills of Dothan, proving that Syria's story has always been more than earthly struggle. It is a stage where heaven and hell contend for nations. Fast forward to today. Syria's modern conflicts, foreign interventions, ideological battles, and religious extremism point again to forces beyond human reason. The confusion, fear, destruction, and global entanglement resemble spiritual warfare manifesting through political chaos. The same land that once opposed prophets now witnesses the clash between ideologies, superpowers, and spiritual identities. But here lies the mystery. God's plans include redemption beyond opposition. Just as Paul encountered Christ on the Damascus road, transforming from persecutor to preacher, even lands in spiritual conflict can be touched by grace. Syria's ancient role as a battleground between truth and deception may foreshadow a future where light pierces the same soil once clouded by darkness. So we ask, is Syria merely a war-torn nation, or a prophetic battleground where ancient forces still move? Could the turmoil we see be the echo of a cosmic struggle foretold long ago? The story continues, not only on Earth, but in realms unseen. If the battle is spiritual, then the victory will be divine. If Syria is a prophetic land, Damascus is its burning coal, a city Scripture highlights with chilling clarity. Isaiah spoke a future where this ancient capital would cease to exist as a city and become a heap of ruins. Isaiah 17, verse 1. Scholars debate, was this fulfilled in the past, or does history still move toward that moment? Damascus has endured countless invasions and still stands, one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world. This very fact sparks prophetic curiosity. How can a city survive nearly every empire in history? Yet Scripture declares a day it will fall completely. Is that day ahead? The prophecy describes not gradual decay, but sudden devastation, a dramatic collapse that shocks nations. Modern observers note Syria's civil war, airstrikes, foreign military presence, and political fractures. Yet Damascus, though battered, still breathes. Many believe this means the prophecy awaits fulfillment, perhaps triggered by a moment of intense international escalation. Notice the prophetic language. Surrounding regions suffer. Israel feels fear, yet protection. Nations tremble, and chaos spreads like dust on the wind. This aligns eerily with modern military doctrines, missile warfare, and sudden conflict. Some analysts see this as a possible future flashpoint involving global powers: Russia, Iran, Israel, Turkey, all present inside or around Syria right now. But biblical prophecy never ends with fear alone. Even in doom-filled verses, a thread of hope exists. A remnant turns to God, idols fall, and eyes lift toward the Holy One. Could devastation lead to redemption? Could a broken Damascus birth spiritual awakening like Paul on the Damascus Road? Only time will reveal. Yet believers watch, not with dread, but discernment. Because if prophecy about Damascus is poised to unfold, it signals not just destruction, but the nearing of a divine chapter in world history. So we ask, when Isaiah saw Damascus silent and empty, was he glimpsing our future? And if so, how close are we to that line in time? The city that never fell may one day fall in a single night. Not as history repeating, but prophecy completing. Syria's biblical role is not simply opposition. It shaped Israel. From Abraham's journey through Mesopotamia to Jacob's connection to Aramean bloodlines, Syria's lands entwine with the patriarchs. Laban, Rachel, Leah, these foundational family threads lead to the tribes of Israel. This nation was not just an enemy. It was part of Israel's origin story. Aram and Israel share language, culture roots, and ancient bloodlines. Yet as history progressed, shared ancestry turned into rivalry. Why? Scripture says nations rise and fall according to divine purposes, sometimes to test, chastise, or refine God's chosen people. Syria tested Israel politically, militarily, spiritually. King Ben-Hadad challenged Ahab. God used Syrian armies as judgment, then humbled them when pride rose. Naaman, a Syrian commander, found healing and faith through Israel's prophet. These patterns reveal a divine paradox. The nation that battled Israel also encountered God's miracles through Israel. This dual role matters in prophecy. Enemies become instruments. Adversaries become testimony bearers. Syria's ancient part in Israel's story suggests a future role not only in conflict but in spiritual awakening. History shows God uses nations in unexpected ways. Those who once opposed his plan can one day serve. Modern Syria is a crossroads of ideology, religion, geography, and prophecy. Civil war shattered cities, displaced millions, and drew global powers into its soil. Russia, Iran, Turkey, the West all entered. Ancient alignments resurfaced in new form. Prophecy scholars note, Syria became central not only regionally but internationally, like a storm eye of the Middle East. This land holds battle scars, refugee cries, and geopolitical strategies. Yet beneath rubble, biblical threads remain. Damascus still stands. Ancient churches still exist under dust. Believers quietly remain, and prophecy watchers still look toward the north. The shadow of Isaiah 17 looms as nations maneuver around Damascus. Ezekiel 38 to 39 mentions northern coalitions, many identifying modern alliances with past names. Whether right or speculative, one truth stands: Syria is not random. Its war matters in prophecy study, not because of politics, but because Scripture placed a spotlight on it long ago. Just when judgment echoes loudest, prophecy whispers hope. Isaiah 19 envisions Egypt, Assyria, and Israel united in worship, enemies healed into brothers. Assyria's territory covered much of modern Syria. This means Scripture foresees not just fallout, but revival. Picture a Middle East transformed not by war, but by worship. Former rivals walking one path under one king. Biblical judgment always bends toward redemption, a divine pattern. Syria, the land of Paul's conversion, could again witness spiritual awakening. What if the dust of war prepares soil for seeds of faith? What if future peace rises from prophetic ash? Prophecy is not fear, it's warning, awareness, hope. Syria's story stretches from patriarchs to apostles, From ancient wars to modern missiles, from spiritual battles to promised redemption. When Syria moves, prophecy watchers pay attention, because Scripture did. Is Syria a signpost? A countdown marker? A bridge between history and destiny? As nations shift and tensions coil, believers watch not with panic, but purpose. For every prophecy fulfilled is a reminder. History bends toward a divine timeline, and God's plan never breaks. And so the journey continues, not in ruins alone, but in redemption promised beyond the storm. Syria's destiny is written not only in headlines, but in holy words spoken centuries before and unfolding before our eyes. It's informative for you. Then like and subscribe for more learning.